welcome to Moms on Mics. I'm Joanne,
I'm Cash.
And I'm Sophia.
and this episode we are talking with Dana Goldstein, author of Shift, Flow, The Girl in the Gold Bikini, Spent, The Matter of a Memoir, The Camping Logbook, and Murder on My Mind. Welcome to the podcast, Dana.
Thank you. And also my latest novel, which is called Katya Noskov's Last Shot, that came out recently.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so exciting when new ones come out.
Yeah, it is.
I did just get this Shift.
Yep.
Shift. Yep. I was telling Sophia, I'm like, I am going to read this before it was supposed to show up 2 days ago, and it showed up at 3 o'clock this afternoon. So I'm so sorry.
Then I told you to power read it, but
Right?
What inspired you to start writing books for youth?
The reason I started writing books for particularly middle grade was because I have two boys who were voracious readers when they were young. So once they got through Diary of a Wimpy Kid and Big Nate and all the Pokemon books, there was really nothing left for them to really dig into. And I always said, oh, you know what? One day I'm going to write this series for those kids that are not quite ready for adult books or who don't like they were probably 8 or 9 at the time, and they were not interested in vampires falling in love or any of that kind of stuff. They didn't want that YA stuff. So I said, okay, I'm going to start writing the books for those kids. Kind of didn't get to it in time. Because they're now 19 and 20, and book 1 came out in 2023, and book 2 came out in 2024. So I was a little bit slow on the process, and they aged out before they would have been interested to read it, right? Pretty much, they're not really interested in reading anything I write because they're my children and they're uninterested in my life at all, as most kids are, right?
Yep.
they read the books?
No, they have not. My oldest has read The Girl in the Gold Bikini only because he snuck it. So we were going on a road trip somewhere. Oh, we were going skiing, and he had taken a book to read on the way there, and he didn't like the book that he took, and he knew that I always had copies of my memoir. It was my first book, so I always had copies in the car because anytime this is part of my, I guess, trick or whatever you want to call it, my hack. So whenever I run into somebody who's like, oh, I've totally been meaning to buy your book. And I'm like, I got them in the car and I got a square. So we're good.
Nice.
I always have books in my car. And he knew that. And I wasn't with them. So it was my two sons and my husband going skiing. And he opened up the middle console and he took it out and he read it. And he was probably 12 at the time. And The Girl in the Gold Bikini is really about food and family, and there's a lot of not suitable for children content in there. So he read it, and then he read it in like a weekend, in that weekend. And then he told me that he read it because he's like the worst liar in the planet and he can't keep secrets at all. So he's like, Mom, I read the book. And I went, oh. Do you have any questions about anything? And he said, no. He says, but I just want to make it clear that if when I'm in high school and I do really dumb things and I do some drugs, I don't want to hear it from you. Because I had written about all my adventures in high school with various product. Let's just say it that way.
Yep.
Right. So that's the only book that either of my children, and only one of my children has read. They have not read any of the other books that I've written. So,
It kind of goes that way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, my kids were only interested in the books that I wrote that they're characters in.
Right.
The other series, it has nothing to do with them. They're like, we don't care.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
like, thanks.
Yeah.
I'll have to look at your books though, because I have an 8-year-old that loves to read, but he reads so fast.
Yeah.
And just like skims right through them. And I'm like, I don't know what else to get you right now.
Yes. So this is why I wrote these books. So they're what's called high middle grade. So, or upper middle grade. So they're heavy on language, and they both have glossaries at the back for some of the trickier words, but they both come at a story from a science perspective. So it really is elevated. Makes a great read along in class. I've had some teachers in grades 4 and 5 do it as a read aloud in class, but it gets them thinking about science in a more real way. And of course, in book one, there's a big science fair. What kid isn't familiar with the science fair,
Right?
right? A nightmare for parents. But yeah, so it is meant for those readers who are a little bit more advanced and who really want something more and who do breeze through typical middle grade books pretty quickly, right? Like the Gordon Corman and the Eric Walters. And yeah, so this is a little bit more advanced.
Nice.
That's cool. That's awesome. So just to confirm, the Girl in the Gold Bikini, that book is about you, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your child to know you on a different level.
Yeah. So I have the 3 memoirs. So The Girl in the Gold Bikini was my very first book, came out in 2018. And it was an interesting journey because while I was writing it, like it was a healing book for me to get over I figured out later that my mother was horribly narcissistic and was not very kind to me, very emotionally abusive. So I wrote that book as a method of healing. And when I published it, I never stopped to think, crap, people are actually going to read this. Like they're going to get insight into some of the crappier parts of my life. And I never once felt nervous about sharing that. It felt more purpose driven that I surely am not the only one who has a mom like this. And of course, after I published it, I started getting emails from people who were like, this is my story. I'm glad you wrote it. Or, I don't feel like I'm the only person who has experienced these things. And that's the whole point for me for writing memoir is to show people that they're not the only ones out there going through some rough stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So
Those have got to be the hardest to write, I think, right?
they
Like a
can
memoir.
be.
Because it's like what we feel is important to us in our journey may or may not be good reading, right? So it's picking out the good and the bad and the stuff, the interesting stuff. And I've always found that like the toughest area.
Yeah, it's tricky, right? Because you don't, well, first of all, I'm fortunate to have a fantastic developmental editor who can tell me this is nothing for the story. This is just you being mean or complaining or hurtful. It does nothing to move the story along. So just dump it out. So I'm fortunate that way.
That's good.
Yeah, but you're right. You never know what's the good stuff to keep in and what is relevant and what's not. And you need to have the right people around you who are not afraid to tell you what's working and what's not.
Yeah, totally. So were you a big reader as a child?
Huge.
Okay.
Huge reader. So this is a fun story. We lived 2 city blocks away from a public library. And I remember my mom taking me there when I was about 6 years old because, Cash, like your child, I was whipping through books like crazy. And my mom was a single working mom, not money. There was no money to buy books. So she took me to the library hoping that I'd be able to find some things to read and keep me occupied. And at the time, I think you could take the books out for 2 weeks. I don't think we were at 3 weeks. I think it was at 2 weeks at that time. And I remember thinking, I can take as many books as I want home. And no, it was actually just it was limited to 50. like I was going to ever carry that amount home.
Right.
But, yeah. But I was so impressed that oh my gosh, I can pick anything I want and I can take it home and read it and then come back and get more. And it was super exciting. But I went through the books way too fast. And my mother was like, oh, okay. So a week later, we're back at the library and I'm picking more books. And a week after that, I'm back at the library picking more books. And she finally got to the point, this is total narcissist of her, but she just was like, you know what? I'm not taking you to the library anymore. So I walked. 6 years old, I walked 2 city blocks by myself. Yeah, so that I could go and get all the books that I wanted. So I read all the time.
And she let you do that?
Yeah, well, it was the 70s, right? It was like hands-off parenting in the 70s and 80s, right? So,
Yeah.
and it was a super different world, right?
Oh,
Like,
100%.
yeah, it was safe. We knew everybody on our street. Like, I wasn't going to get far without somebody else's mother going, "Where are you going?"
Right?
Yeah. So yeah, there was no problem. I had to cross a very busy intersection though. So I knew like how to wait for the signal and all that kind of stuff. So I was safe that way.
So this reminds me of that movie, Matilda.
Hmm.
Reminds me of Matilda walking to the
Okay.
library every day.
Yeah.
You're a little Matilda.
I guess I was a little Matilda, yeah.
Crazy. So, were there any books that you loved when you were a child that still influence your writing today?
That's a great question. I don't really think I have an answer for that. You know what? In all the years I've done interviews, nobody has asked me like what other writers influenced my writing. And I
Oh,
think
really?
and I think that's because I'm what's called a multi-genre writer, right? So I write memoir, I write middle grade, and I write contemporary women's fiction and YA. So it's like I can't just pick one. But I will say that when I was a teenager, I devoured horror. Like Stephen King, John Saul, Dean Koontz, like I read pretty much everything that they wrote. Did I know then that I was going to be a writer? No. So did I pay attention to like tropes and style of writing and how to put a book together? Absolutely not. I do remember reading The Stand, which is like, oh, it's like 1,000 pages. It's a huge book. It's a doorstop.
Yeah.
Like it's a high level doorstop. So I remember reading, I was 15 years old and I had been invited to a party. And like the nerd that I am, I took my book with me.
Aw.
Yeah, and the party got a little out of control. There were some people doing some stuff with, their
Yep.
nose. And I was like, I'm not into this. And I went into my friend's bedroom. She had bunk beds in her bedroom, and I climbed up to the top bunk and turned on the lamp that was up there attached to the bed, and I sat on the bed and read The Stand for about 3 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just totally lost and totally absorbed in that book. And that's like my first real memory of being completely absorbed in a story that everything else just faded away, right? And the party ended and I didn't even know it.
So would you say that was your favorite book? Did you have a favorite book?
I did not have a favorite book. I still don't have a favorite book. I have books that I adore that I keep on my shelf so that I can periodically like glance at them if I'm stuck in a rut, and I'll pull them down and just sort of flip through some pages because the writing is so unique or so captivating or so funny that I need to revisit random pages at any given time.
Okay, and you do that?
I do that. Yes.
Still read then, right? You don't just write, you still read books?
I read tons. I read about 100 books a year.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. See, the trick is you cancel your cable and then you take all the apps off your phone that will like distract your time, right? So like you remove Netflix and Crave and Amazon Prime and TikTok and Facebook, and if you take off all these distractions, what are you left with? You're left with books on your phone. I'm left with books on my phone, right? So I'm reading. If when I would take my kids to swimming lessons or whatever, or karate lessons, I would be reading.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tried to like bring my laptop and do some writing, but it's too distracting, which is weird because I'll sit in a packed coffee shop and I'll bang out words like it's not a problem. So it's not just the noise, it's the environment that has to be conducive to writing for me, but I can read anywhere, obviously.
Oh, I need silence. I shouldn't say silence, but there can't be any TV. They can't be anything super. If there's music, then everything I read on the page is exactly what else is going on. It's
Right.
not actually what's on the page. So
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I need quiet.
Yeah.
But I was weird. I couldn't read anything if I was writing. It had to be separate.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, as soon as
Yeah.
if I picked up a book to read, the writing was gone. It's like the story had left the building, and as soon as I put the book down, it would come back. It was the weirdest thing. So,
Yeah, no, for me, they're total separate. Like one doesn't affect the other. I absolutely believe that the more I read, actually, this is true. The more I read, the better I get as a writer.
yeah,
Because I read things and like lines stick with me that are just so brilliant, and I bury them in my work as Easter eggs. Right.
nice.
Yeah. Right. So like there's a writer called S.A. Cosby. So I've known him for years. He writes, I guess they call it gritlit. So he wrote a book called, he's got a number of them, but the one I'm going to refer to is Razor Blade Tears. And I kind of pay homage to him in a couple of my books because one of the lines in Razor Blade Tears is, you give a man a clipboard and it changes who he is. And I was just like, wow, right? Like just like
Right?
that kind of line, like it was so true.
Yeah.
Right? So in my latest novel, I actually use it in there. And I think I've used it in one other novel as well, just as like a, hey, Sean, I was paying attention to what you're writing.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Where do your ideas usually come from? Real life, imagination, or a mix of both?
A mix of both comes from real life scenarios and the voices in my head. So frequently, what happens is the voice of the character comes to me before their story does.
Oh my God. You're like the only other person that has ever said that. Sorry, continue.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah. So I hear their voice very distinctly before I even know what I'm going to write about them. Right. So for Shift, it was, I don't remember the exact scenario where I started to think of the story like in real life anyways. But I was just sort of I think it was probably around that time in schools when the kids were getting their science projects done, and I started thinking like these poor kids, they go through torture, and these poor administrators who have to like see these same boring projects year after year after year, right? And I thought like what if like it actually went somewhere, right? If there was like some big competition and it was a bigger deal than it was, and the kids really had to put an effort into that. Because this happens in the adult science world, right? Where people get funded to do these science fair projects where they're doing all this research and then they win great prizes and they get their ideas funded and brought to real life. And I thought that should happen for little kids. And then I heard this 11-year-old boy not whisper in my ear, but he sort of said, that's exactly what I want, because science fair projects are stupid when they don't go anywhere. And I'm like, oh, who are you?
That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's how Dax Masters came into my world. I was like, okay, fine. Let's deal with this. Let's examine this and let's see where we can go with a science fair project that actually goes somewhere.
Yeah, that's
Right?
super cool.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Love knowing someone else does that. Sorry, continue.
Do you want to talk about it?
It's okay. I don't want to take over, so I'm like,
About it.
I'm just keeping it inside.
Let's talk about it. No? Okay.
No, I will if you want. I just didn't want to.
I do.
Okay, so my characters would do the same thing. The crazy part was so the first novels that I wrote, the two main characters are my sons, and I gave them my son's name. They've got their personality and everything. But the characters of my sons would come into my head and like talk to me. Even when my actual real life sons were talking to me, they'd be like, I wouldn't say that. Like the characters would say it, and I'm like, God damn it. And my husband is like, okay, so it's either a writer thing or you're a schizophrenic. We're not sure which way this is.
It's a writer thing.
Right? And I'm
Yeah,
like,
I'm sticking with
sure
that.
yeah, and until this day, I'm like, I'm sure all writers do it. But I used to host like writer groups and everything. And I was like, hey, do you guys talk to your characters? And they were like, no. And I'm
all
like,
the time.
I'm like, maybe I
They're-
am schizophrenic.
That's impossible. No, they're liars.
Well,
Liars. Because
here's
how
my
can you not? Like if you're writing a novel, you are
my
obsessed with
theory
these
is
people.
some of them were they were writing like nonfiction,
Okay, that
and
makes sense.
and then some of them were just very. I'm like, you're
Literary
almost.
fiction people.
Yeah, I'm like, you're just too smart or too something. And so that's why they're not talking to you. Well, they're so real. Like,
They are real. Yeah. And
yeah,
so in my latest novel, which is about an assassin who's forced into retirement before she's ready and kind of fumbles through the rest of like figuring out how to live a normal life like the rest of us have to do. So she came to me after a conversation with my father-in-law, who is 90, and a lot of his friends he'd had since childhood, and they were starting to pass away or had recently passed away. And he said, you get to an age where you just can't replenish your friends. Like, that's it. Like, they're dying
right.
and you got no one else. Like, you don't have time to invest in long-term friendships when you're 90.
Yeah.
And in my ear, this woman with a heavy Russian or a heavy Uzbekistan accent, so like kind of Russian, said, "Imagine if you're an assassin and you've never had to make a friend in your life, and now you have to start. How
Wow.
do you do that?" And I was like, "Who are you?"
Right?
You're fascinating. You sound. Can I swear on this podcast?
Oh,
or no?
yep, yep.
Okay, like you sound like a little bitchy, but. Okay, I'm gonna listen. So that's what like I started mulling that over in my head, and this like the story's starting to build, and I'm making notes, and like even in the middle of writing. So one of the characters in the novel is an artist from Afghanistan, and I had written. So I typically will write like backstory for my characters before I start writing the novel, because I kind of want to know like who they are, where they came from, what their mannerisms are, how they present to the world versus how they really are. So I do like probably 10,000 words per character. So about 40,000 words total. So what's that, like a couple hundred pages of, it's like a novel in its
Yeah.
own, right? Yeah. Right. But I need to know who these people are. So I had been writing the backstory for this artist. Her name's Farzana, Farzi for short. And I was writing Farzi's backstory and how she came to the US and like she didn't really know where to go or what to do. And she ended up in like a dingy hotel and went and got she wanted a hamburger because like a hamburger is so American. And she went to like 7-Eleven or a convenience store to get a hamburger because she didn't know like where else to go and what to do. And I'm writing all this. And in my other ear, she says, "Excuse me, bitch, I came with money." And I was like, "What?" Wait, what? So I had pegged her as like this refugee from Afghanistan, but in fact, she's quite wealthy and brought all her money with her. And I was just like that's how they talk to me, right? Like they
Yeah.
tell me where I'm wrong and where I'm going off course, and they whisper their secrets. And sometimes I write them down, and sometimes I let the reader discover them.
Right?
yeah.
I'm just, yeah, I'm so happy that someone else does the same thing.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I love that.
Yeah, I'm not ever in control. I like to think I am, but it's really my characters who decide where they go and what they do.
Right? I used
Yeah.
to always say, I just hold the pencil.
Yeah.
I don't make the story. I just hold the pencil and whoever, because I remember like my sons went to a Catholic school and I did like an author visit there. And they're like, and when I explain that, I'm like, I just hold the pencil and the story comes and they're like, does it come from God?
Huh.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't, 'cause- and I like the teachers are like looking at me like say the correct thing
Yeah.
here. And I'm like,
Please say yes. Please say yes.
I'm
Please
like-
say yes.
I'm like, it could be who it comes from. I'm like, I just hold the pencil, man.
Yeah.
I don't do anything else. So
Yeah.
So, how do you make sure your stories feel real and exciting for kids that age?
Well, I try to stay away from, so my rule of thumb is if this is how I think kids talk, that's not how kids talk. So change it, right? Like yo and bro and bra and like, they don't really They don't really all talk like that, and they don't want to read it like that. So I keep my dialogue very real and very relatable and very honest. And, I just have to make sure that there's enough action in every single chapter to make the kids want to turn the page. Right? It's craft, right? You just you can't just be like, okay, so what happens next? What happens next? And then he went to the door, and then he opened the door, and then he looked out the door, and then he looked to the left, and then he looked to the right. Like, you can't.
And then he was like, bro.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Bruh.
Bro.
Yo!
I get called bro on a daily, so it's a thing in our school right now.
Yeah, but you just have to keep it so engaging. And like, as I'm writing, I'm hyper aware of that. Like, I'm hyper aware of who my audience is and how kids need a different kind of craft in writing than adults do, right? Because adults, we can fill in a lot of stuff with our own experience, and our own lives, but kids don't really have that. But at the same time, they don't want you to spoon feed them everything. So it's a really delicate balance between, saying what you want to say in the story and, not boring them to death with like, oh, I kind of knew that. I didn't need to read a page about, how the grass grows or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes when books are like overly descriptive, it's like, oh, come on, we can figure it out. You said a door. It was heavy. We don't need to know the materials it was constructed with.
Right? And kids don't want that either, right? They want action, and they want to see themselves in the characters they're reading about, but they also want a character that they can aspire to emulate.
Exactly.
Right? Without being feeling like they're being taught a lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And it's really hard. So when I wrote 2 books for kids about basically environment and being a good steward for your environment. And I kind of like parked that out of my head and didn't even think about that and just focused on the story, because I didn't want it to be this like morality clause of, we got to save the planet. We got to do all these things to keep it healthy. I didn't want that. I just I want the readers to be aware of what's happening in and around our planet that they may not learn about in school.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Is it more geared towards the male reader or the female reader?
Probably the male reader, just because, my main character is an 11-year-old boy. His best friend is another boy, and their other best friend is a girl who's she's not very girly. She's kind of sassy and keeps them on the straight and narrow. And the 2 boys, they're best friends. They've been best friends since before third grade, since kindergarten. And they have this game where they try to outdo each other with like ridiculous facts. So they'll talk about like turtles peeing or lobsters peeing out of their face. And
boy stuff.
Yeah, right, all that that weird gross boy stuff. And she's just like, you guys are gross. Right, but we need to do this. So it's definitely geared more to boys. That was on purpose, because I used to be a book buyer for chapters way back. And at the time, and still to this day, there are so many series written for middle grade girls.
Yeah.
Right? Tons of them. And there's not a lot for boys that's not like Big Nate or Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Right? So you get more chapter books, thicker chapter books for girls than you do for boys.
Yes.
So I purposely wrote this and put a lot of boy humor. That doesn't mean the girls don't love it. Like, I had one reader who is dogging me regularly to bring out book number 3. I haven't even written it yet. I don't know if I will. But she so loves these people, these characters in this book. She's like, when's the next one coming?
Yeah.
So my daughter plays hockey, Anissa, as you all know, and I have been to the bookstore quite a few times with her to look for a book about a girl who plays hockey, and I cannot find one anywhere. And I would like one that there's like an appropriate love story. I did find one, and it was a very inappropriate love story.
Oh no.
Oh no.
I don't think so. Right? So just
Yeah.
like a girl that plays hockey and, like just teen, like preteen girl stuff,
Yeah.
right?
And
Yeah.
there's definitely a gap, right? Because I'm sure that you can find a picture book about a girl who plays hockey. I'm sure of it. I even know I know I've seen one, but
Yeah.
for like Anissa's what, 11, 12 now? She's
She just
12.
12.
Right.
And I
So there's
anything. And I think she'd be really interested in that, right?
Right.
Just talk about preteen stuff and like boys and girlfriends and hockey and you can't find it. You can't find
right.
it. Been many times with her, and we've asked people who work there. So there's an idea for you.
Yeah, maybe. I know nothing about hockey.
Hockey voice gonna talk to you.
Mhm.
It's definitely hard though, right? I find that the girls' books tend to go in a certain direction, and then boys' books, I mean, there's not many of them out there that are specifically geared towards boys. But it's almost like people forget that there's a lot of tomboys out there. Like, there's a lot of us girls, we don't want the love story. We don't
Right?
want the
Yeah.
the frilly girly like talking to my, girlfriends on the phone about a boy. Like we want to be going out rolling in dirt and playing hockey or beating other people up for no reason. Like we want to be doing the rough and tough boy stuff
Yes.
without reading about just boys doing it. And there's stories that you get the one kind of tomboy girl and they always turn her around into some like princessy like thing that everybody loves, and it's like, why? We don't need a She's All That movie in every novel, right? Like let a girl just be a girl, like just like loves to read, loves to play hockey, loves to do whatever without turning her into this beautiful like thing that all boys are like, oh wow, you are pretty once you took your glasses off. Like what?
Yeah, no. And,
Like
yeah, and then the ones that sort of start off with a really strong female character, and like she's got purpose and she's driven and she has goals, and it's like, oh, this is so good. And then it flips to like all she wants to do is pursue the cute boy.
yeah.
And I'm like, whoa. Why? It was such a
Right?
good, strong story. Like, why did you have to do this, Fourth Wing? But anyhow,
Yeah.
I remember being a youth and not really being into books because everyone's like, here, read The Babysitter's Club. And I'm like, boo. No, there's no
Right?
blood, there's no guts, nobody dies ever. And they're like, read Judy Blume. I'm like, can I read V.C. Andrews? Because at least weird
Yes.
stuff happens.
Right?
Like,
Yeah.
and yeah, and I remember my teacher I brought a book in and into school and they went ape shit. They're like, you cannot have that book in class. And I'm like, why? What's wrong with Carrie? I'm like, it's about a girl. And they're like, absolutely not. And so I was like, well, like, what are we supposed to read if we don't want those love stories or those like girly ones? And then I mean, now there seems to be a little bit more coming out for boys, but there wasn't much back in our day, right? So it's like there's a disconnect or something between writers and some readers. It's hard to find the right thing for everybody.
Yeah, and just so a couple of notes. So when my publisher for my kids' book, one of the editors in the early stages before the book was ready for publication, came back to me with a suggestion that I build some chemistry between Dax, the main character, and his best friend Kayla. And I was like, okay, ooh, they're 11.
Right?
Like, gross. And two, that's not the story I like. It's not relevant to the story. Like, we
Yeah.
don't need to infuse young romance into every single book for young people that's out there, right? There's more to life than that.
Okay, do you ever base your characters on real people or are they completely made up?
My characters are more like a mix of all the people that I know, right? So, what's
I'm joking.
are you? No, no.
No, okay.
Maybe next time. If you see that you've been acknowledged, Sophia, in like the acknowledgement part, then you know. And I'm not going to tell you which one is you. I'm going to let you figure that out. My characters are like a collection of all the people that I know, right? So Hatcha in my women's fiction is very much a mix of all the Russian moms who I grew up around on my street because there was a lot of Russian immigrants at the time in the late 70s, early 80s. So I could speak Russian. Like I knew, like when I was yelled at, "Idi suda," that was one of the moms saying, "Come here." Like I understood, right?
Nice.
So yeah, so Katya is sort of like a mix of all those women who were like, there was no BS. They were straight up. They said what was on their mind. They didn't have any like social niceties at all. Like, you know what? You go through a Moscow winter, you've earned the right to say whatever the heck you want to anyone you want. Right. Dax is based a little bit on my boys. Again, kind of a mix of the two of them because one is really analytical. Actually, maybe like so Dax is more like my oldest and Avery is probably more like my youngest. So really like goofy and free spirited. Well, how they used to be before they became jaded adults.
I know that's like me. I miss my little boys so much. You know,
Yeah.
they're different now, and I just miss them so much when they were little. They'd run around and play, and they're so different now.
Yeah. Fortunately, like my sons are still very close. They don't do they don't do things together really outside the house, but like certainly inside the house, they are operating as a unit most of the time, which is nice. Yeah, I'm in no hurry to have my kids leave the house because life is going to be shitty enough for them anyways. Like,
Yeah.
why do they need to rush that process? Like, live it up, earn some money, go to school, make stupid decisions. I always tell my kids, and they know this, that no matter where you are in life, you always have a safe place here at home.
Yeah.
Always. No matter what's going on, what bad decision or horrible breakup or, you know, being dismissed from a job, like you always land safely in this house. And they know that. And
I'm
they're,
the exact same way.
I know you're a mama bear like
I
me,
encourage them not to leave. I'm like, just please never leave.
right? Yeah, I'm not ready for it. No,
Oh, I'm not ready.
Oh,
no.
it's tough. I like you know that you've done your job and hold on to them while you still can.
Yep, exactly.
Very true.
Mine are still babies, so I still got them.
Yeah, you're lucky.
I feel it though. I feel it. Even though like grade 1 and grade 3 this year, it still sucks. So what would you say is the hardest part about writing for this age group?
Getting the voice right? So especially when you write in many genres like I do, it's really easy to like slip into full adult language and adult voice. So I have to it's a really tough sometimes to juggle writing appropriately for the age group without writing beneath them. Right. So, and also because I'm writing, I wrote books about science. This is probably the hardest thing was as I was writing the book, I'd had to learn things. I was not good in science. I'm just going to throw it out there. Okay. I was terrible in science. All through elementary school and high school. Oh my God. No, It wasn't until I was an adult that I was like, oh, science is cool and I can actually understand stuff now. And I don't have to memorize things. Like I can follow my curiosity, right? So the hardest thing was when I would be writing about a concept. I can't write a high level science for a kid who's 8 years old or 8 to 12. So I have to figure out how to make the science easy to follow and easy to understand. And in some cases, I would read 4 or 5 scientific articles, 2/3 of which I probably didn't understand, but I just kept digging and digging and reading until I understood what the science was. Because if I didn't understand it, I certainly couldn't write it in a way that that a child could understand it.
Right.
So, I know if Trivial Pursuit was still a thing and the science category was like not stupid hard, I could probably answer a lot of those questions now because my head is filled with like useless facts. Right. But some of it's really cool, right? So
Yeah.
like, Elizabeth Gilbert in this book called Big Magic. It's one of my favorite books. Okay. Oh, see, we got a favorite book out of me. So she writes about the creative process. And one of the things she says is to follow the curiosity. Right? Because like, oh, hey, so she was really curious. She bought a house and it had a garden and she'd never really gardened. But she started planting things and the garden thrived and she had all these flowers. And she's like, I don't even know like where half these flowers come from. Like, are they native to this neighborhood or this part of the world? So she started to follow the curiosity of like, what are these flowers and how did they get here? And one of the flowers that was in her garden came from like ancient China or something. Like it was so wild. And she followed the curiosity. And because she just became so interested in her flowers, she developed an interest in moss. So she started learning about moss, which is like honestly the best thing in the world. I lived in Vancouver. I hated it. It grew on my roof. It overtook everything in my garden. But now I have more respect for moss because it's actually quite lovely and pretty interesting. So she followed all this curiosity about moss and started learning about moss and was talking to biologists. And she didn't even really know why she was doing this other than that she was interested in this. And all of this, like for years, she followed this curiosity. And in the end, she ended up writing this beautiful book called The Signature of All Things about a family from like, I don't know, 1700s or 1800s forward that really, like it's fiction, but it's a family that developed the science around moss.
Huh.
Right. And it's just like follow the curiosity,
Yeah.
right? So like every time I'm like looking up stuff for science, I'm 100% following my curiosity, which is great because if I think it's a really cool fact, then my young readers are going to think it's a really cool fact. Like the mantis shrimp. You know what the mantis shrimp is?
No.
It's the smallest shrimp in the ocean and the deadliest one.
Oh.
Yeah, because there's two species. One has an arm that's like a club and it comes down and smashes so fast it can smash anything, and the arm comes down so hard and so fast it raises the temperature by like 5 degrees in the water around it. Like that's how much friction it is.
Wow.
Like, and it's like this tiny little shrimp. And the other species, its claw, instead of a claw, it has it's almost like a velociraptor hook that does the same thing.
Oh,
And I'm like, if I never followed the curiosity, I would never have known that. And I wouldn't have been able to put it in my book.
Right?
Right? Because kids love that kind of stuff, right? It makes them feel super smart when they learn stuff. Yeah.
It does. It makes me feel super smart that I know about it now.
Yeah. Right? Yeah.
It is pretty cool.
Yeah. It's
Right?
absolutely wild. Yeah.
Cool. So, what kinds of lessons do you hope readers take away from your books?
For the kids' books, I just want kids to be interested in learning as much as they can about the world around them.
Yeah, just like what you gave me an example of, right?
Right? Yeah. Like you don't have to live in a fancy, exotic place to watch the environment around you. Like notice things, ask questions. Don't be afraid to push back. Teachers hate it when I say this, but don't be afraid to push back. Like if something doesn't make sense to you, ask for the clarification. I tell children that you have every right to keep asking the questions until you understand.
Yeah.
Right? Until it makes sense for you. Right? Also, like I said, follow your nose of curiosity. Right. I give kids a little handout in class when I do a class presentation that's basically invites them to like walk around your neighborhood and see what you notice from the animal kingdom. Right. Like watch an anthill.
Yeah.
Right. See, like or put some seed in your backyard and watch the birds come and see what kind of birds come, or talk to the magpies. That's my favorite. My family hates it. They think I'm a Looney Tune because, what's that?
That's what my mom does. She sits outside and talks to the birds.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the magpies are super smart. And I'm not gonna lie, I can't lie. Because one year, I decided that I was gonna feed the magpies. So like we threw out, instead of throwing our scraps in compost, we put stuff out in like a little ceramic dish for the birds. And it was like meats and fruits and seeds. It was just scraps of all kinds of things. And that summer, my car was the only one on the road that didn't have bird shit on it. I'm not lying.
Yeah.
Right. So they know, and magpie, like corvids, which are magpies, crows, blue jays, ravens, are the smartest birds out there.
Yep.
And they can recognize your face. But what I learned from this experiment was not only that I was like the magpie queen for a summer, but blue jays are bigger assholes than magpies. They're mean. They're mean. Blue jays are totally mean, and the magpies are like, I'm out of here.
Really?
That blue jay is trouble.
I thought the magpies were the bullies.
Nope, it's the blue jays. See how good the blue jays are, that they made us all believe that they are not the bullies.
And it's crows that have like generational memories, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and ravens.
Right.
And
yeah.
probably magpies too.
That's what I would assume.
They're all the same bird family.
Yeah.
So yeah, and what's wild is my husband and I were walking like a couple weeks ago. We were just walking in the neighborhood, and I see all these magpies, and they're up in the trees, and they're squawking, and I see on the grass there's like a bird no longer with us. And I went, oh, this is cool. We're actually going to get to see like a murder of birds. Like that's what you call a grouping of corvids. We're going to get to watch their mourning process, because they mourn, and they make noises, and they clatter, and they chatter, and they gather around when one of their own dies. And I stood there and I watched, and this one bird went over, and he's like pecking away at the bird. I'm like, oh, look, he's trying to see if his friend's okay. He's like, trying to wake him up. And I'm like, it's not going to happen, but he's trying.
Right.
And then my husband's like, are you sure that's what's going on? So, of course, I went a little bit closer, and all the birds are squawking at me. So I thought, oh, no, I'm in for it. But no, in fact, it was not a fellow magpie. It was a pigeon that had flown into a window.
Oh, no.
And they were getting ready to snack.
Yep. Oh, that's awesome.
Right? Yeah. See, science is cool.
Yeah. Did you ever learn that whole, like with magpies, that rhyme that like one for sorrow, two for joy, three? Oh my God. No. So my mom taught me this when I was little, and it goes up to 7, I think. And so it's this whole thing. So every time I see these birds, I say the rhyme, like, and I can't. Yeah. And I cannot. And it infuriates me, because I'm like, if there's only one, I'm like, sorrow. I'm going to be sad. Something bad's going to happen. Come on, magpies. Who the fuck are the rest of you? And I obsess over it, and it drives me crazy.
Okay, well, say it. Tell us what it is.
1 for sorrow, 2 for joy, 3 for a girl, 4 for a boy, 5 for silver, 6 for gold, 7 for a secret never to be told.
Ooh, that's cool.
That is cool.
And I'm like I'll see them, and there'll be like a certain number, and I'll like be like, oh, I'm going to be happy because this is going to happen or whatever. And usually it's usually pretty accurate. But I mean, I always pick stuff that I kind of know is going to, I never leave anything like up to chance and be like, oh no, I saw only one. Someone will die. Like, it's never anything like that. But I'm just like, when I see one, something will pop into my head that would make me sad. I'm like, no, damn it. Now they know what's going to happen. Like, it's so silly. But yeah, I can't not every time I see them. Thankfully, it's only the black and white ones. Okay, well, now you guys can have that torture in your brains. You're welcome.
Right? I'm like, oh.
One of my favorite movies when I was little, this is who I am, but was Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. Loved that movie. Like, I used to watch it over and over when I was like...
Nope.
No, when I was really little, I was like... Oh. And I was like, I'm glad they're all just the black ones, because it would ruin the movie for me, because I don't know what comes after 7, and there's hundreds of them. So yeah. I'm like...
That movie freaked me out.
Oh, I love it. That and American Werewolf in London were my favorite.
Oh, I loved American Werewolf in London too,
Yeah.
but no, the birds creeped me out.
Okay, so there was a surge in kids reading in like the early 2000s, thanks in part to like Harry Potter and the Hunger Games. Do you think the number of children who love reading is dropping now? Probably thanks to social media and such.
Oh, I don't think I know
Hmm.
because last year a report came out that the literacy rates are dropping alarmingly.
That's so sad.
Yeah, not just, and it's not, it's a North America problem predominantly. So even here in Canada, the literacy rates among children is dropping faster than it ever has. Kids are definitely not reading as much. They're not getting exposed to as many different things as we did when we were kids. We certainly didn't have anybody policing what we read,
Right?
right? Yeah. Like book bans. What are you talking about? Nothing. I mean, like you mentioned VC Andrews, right? We were
Yeah.
all, that was a terrible book for a 12-year-old to read, but we all read it at
Right?
11 or 12, right?
Yep. My
So,
sister was, I think she was 12. She was either 11 or 12 when she introduced me to it. So I was like 2 years younger than her. When people ask, like, oh, what books did you learn to read on? I'm like, V.C. Andrews,
yeah.
Flowers in the Attic. And
Flowers in
they're
the
like,
attic.
what?
Okay.
I'm like, I was a bad reader. And then that book, that's what I remember like learning from and then falling in love with.
Yeah. But so literacy rates are dropping among the younger children, but I think there's hope because there seems to be this trend that I see anyways of, once kids are 12 or older, they're starting to come back into reading because there's more interesting things for them to access, right?
That's
Like,
fair. Yeah.
yeah, right. I mean, I do a lot of book signings in bookstores, so I watch. Like, I love people watching, and I watch with the kids, like especially the young readers, what they're picking up off the shelves, right? And right now, it's Jenny Han, which is The Summer I Turned Pretty, in that whole
Right.
series,
Yeah.
and it's Warrior Cats is another big one for the younger readers. But yeah, I think the kids are coming back. And the 13-year-olds, they're definitely reading Fourth Wing and Onyx Storm and whatever the other book is called. They're
Yeah.
because I hear them talking about it in a very hushed voices.
Yeah, I always think it's so important for kids to see us read. I know that more so in the wintertime when my day home kids are just playing and they're like totally entertained. I'll pick up my book and sit and read.
Yeah,
They'll stop, they'll look at me, and then they'll go get books. And I'm like, you can keep playing. They're like, no, we want to read too.
yeah.
I'm like, okay. And I'm like, well, I can't read this book to you. And they're like, no, 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 we're going to read our own. So they're told, I feel like if parents sat down and let their kids see them read and not just save it for when the kids are in bed, like let the kid play by themselves and read your book. You're teaching them
Yeah.
to love reading and
And
that it's okay to read.
And that's ideal, but I think the reality is parents are so stripped of extra time. Like, especially not that I want to like crap on dads, but moms' brains are very different.
Yeah.
Right? Like we are always in planning and preparation mode. Yeah, you think I'm sitting there watching Netflix? I'm making the list of all the things that need to happen before we leave the house tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's how our brains work. And it's super hard now with like, the politics that's going on and the cost of living and all the stresses of daily life are overtaking our desire to read because people don't understand how much of an escape reading can be. Plus, it's easier to just sit there and scroll your phone. Right? Like let's
Yeah.
call it what it is, right? TikTok is entertaining and it's quick hits and you don't have to dedicate any time, really. Like if you're pulled away to do something big deal, it'll still be there when you come back, but reading needs to be thought of as a great distraction again.
Yeah.
As it always has been for me, right? Like my my kids have never seen me not reading to them or on my own. I didn't read a whole lot when they were really little. I mean, having two under two is, as Sophia very well knows, is like insane, right? Like you're busy.
Yeah.
So I really didn't read a whole lot. I think maybe I read from the time they were born till maybe they were like 8. I maybe read 2 or 3 books total.
Yeah.
Not a year, total. But I always read books with them.
Right.
We always went to the library. We picked random books off the shelf. I let them go wild. Strict rules, although if you pick a book up off the shelf and you don't want it, you got to put it back. Don't leave it for someone else to clean up.
Yep.
And like we would go home with dozens of books, and this is what we would do every single day. We would like go through the books. And I knew what the ones that were a hit because they would sit there and listen to me, and the ones that weren't a hit, they got all squirrely.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, we need to bring books back into like kids' lives, and parents. I tell dads too, because dads are like the worst because they don't think spending time reading with their kid is like a good use of their time. So I say, like, especially when it comes to shift and flow, I've told many a dad, like, if your kid's 8, the biggest deal for him is for you to sit next to him on his bed or on the couch or wherever and read a chapter with him.
Yeah.
Right? You read some aloud, he reads some aloud. Like, there's no greater bonding exercise
Yeah.
than that, right? And a lot of dads think that bonding with their kids is like, rah, rah, rah at the hockey rink. And
Right.
let's go throw a ball around. And like, yes, those are all good things, but reading together is so intimate, right? And, now my 20-year-old, his new thing is he'll come over, like he's going to sit down and talk to me, and he'll just take my book and he'll just flip the pages on me. Punk. Such a punk. Yeah. And then he walks away cackling like he's like won some great victory. Dude, I had a bookmark. Like, what? You loser. And books are so much more accessible now than they ever were because libraries have very significant collections. So you don't have to buy all the books. And audiobooks for a road trip, oh my God. Like, find the right book for the whole family to listen to. And it's incredible. Like, there's silence in the car, right? If it's the right story.
Yeah.
Everyone is completely enraptured in the story. So audiobooks, and then like ebooks.
Yeah.
Which you can read anywhere at any time on your phone. So
I just can't do ebooks. I want that smell.
yeah,
I want
get
that satisfaction of flipping a page.
Yeah. I do it all.
I can do audiobooks,
Yeah.
but I just can't do ebooks.
Yeah. I can only do audiobooks if I'm like gardening, pulling weeds. I don't garden. I make it sound like I garden. I have the best garden on the street because I do nothing with it. Or driving. Yeah. Otherwise, my brain is like, oh, and today I actually tried while I was cleaning our bathroom, and that actually worked out. So, but my brain tends to wander. So
I do it when I'm walking the dog.
Yeah.
If I'm walking the dogs, then I can listen to audiobooks, and then like cleaning and stuff like that. But
yeah.
Otherwise, you're like, wait, what happened? And it's like you're halfway through the book and you don't remember.
Yeah. So yeah, it's easy to access books.
Yeah.
Nowadays.
Yeah, it's sad. Hopefully, I don't know. I think a lot of it comes down to what kids, like you said, what kids are exposed to and what they're influenced by. And if they never see a parent read, it's almost like that's just not what we do in our family, is kind of like what they pick up on, right? So I think it's super important for them to see parents reading. And
and it's important for parents to support their children who want to read.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've been at a market selling my books, and a kid will come up, and I always put the book in their hand because the covers are catchy, right? So I see them looking at it. I'm like, do you want to read the back and see if this is something you'd be interested in? And they're like, yeah, I'd love to. And they read it. And at least once a market, a kid will say to their parent, I really want this book. And the parent's like, no, you're not going to read it. And I always want to say, fuck you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, who are you to determine what your child is interested in. Like
Right?
your kid is saying, I'd like to read a book. I'm telling you, I probably would have so much more money in the bank if I didn't buy every single book that my kid said, this sounds really interesting. Oh, you want a book? I'm buying it for
Yep.
you. Right? Like,
That was the one thing that they're like, yep, whatever, whenever, how many ever you want. I
right?
never had a
Exactly.
limit
Yeah.
on that. I mean,
Yep.
I also don't have a limit when
That
I
and
go
Hot
into
Wheels at a
chapters.
buck 25 a car.
Right? Yeah. If you can behave in the grocery store, you
Yeah,
get a
you get
Hot
a Hot
Wheels.
Wheels.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to a 12-year-old who dreams of becoming a writer?
Oh, write for yourself. Just keep writing and let it be okay that if you start to write a story and you're like, I don't know what I'm writing about, it's okay to just stop it and start something new, right? Give yourself the ease and grace to practice because that's what you're doing,
Yeah.
right? And not every story will get to the finish line, and that's okay. That doesn't mean you're not a good writer. It means you're a writer who's learning.
Yeah.
Just keep writing and write for yourself. Never mind what, you're told to do for school or, what you think people might want to read. Write the stories that you want to read. Write the things that are interesting to you. Follow the curiosity.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anissa loves to write. She writes stories, and you give her a pen and a piece of paper, and she'll just write for hours.
Fantastic. Good job.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love that about her.
Yeah.
So she's definitely going to do something. Elias, too. Elias loves to write, too. So,
Nice.
yeah, hopefully. Authors. Do you find it difficult to keep young boys engaged in reading?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a very tough audience. Boys are just their brains work differently. They're very easily distracted. They need to be kept in motion more so than girls. So, and one of the things that I tried to do, I don't know if I did it well, but I tried to keep my chapters short so that I wanted boys to read the book and it was okay, like to feel a sense of accomplishment with every chapter that they read, right? So I try to keep them short because they'll just keep reading or they're okay to stop when they're tired or they have to go or whatever. But if a boy is feels that a chapter is too long and their interest is waning, they will put the book down and never pick it up again. Whereas girls will come back to it,
Yeah.
right? So I really tried to keep the chapters short so that they could feel a win, right? And it's not like, oh, this chapter's too long. I don't want to read it. Like I think boys are more driven to accomplish and reach a goal
Yeah.
getting to the end of a chapter, that's the goal, than girls are. Girls are more fluid about how they read.
Right. That's a really good idea.
Okay, so where can people find your books?
So my books are available pretty much at every Indigo in Calgary, Indigo chapters in Calgary. And if they're not there, they can be ordered. They can be ordered by any bookstore anywhere in the world, actually.
Nice.
Yeah. I have copies available for sale directly from me through my website. Like if you wanted signed copies, ebooks are available also on ebooks and paperbacks on Amazon, ebooks and audiobooks on Kobo, basically anywhere. Yeah. My books are what we call, worldwide. So they're available
Awesome.
on any platform. Yeah.
And what's your website?
It's danagoldstein.ca.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. And you said you're not on Facebook.
I'm not on Facebook. I am on Instagram. My Instagram and Threads handle are the same, and it's at author Dana Goldstein.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Anything else you want to plug or get out there to
No,
The
just
world
like,
that listens.
check out my books because they're all very different. Like I said, I got memoir, middle grade, and contemporary women's fiction, which was actually selected as a book club favorite from a couple of bookstores. So that was
Nice.
exciting. Yep. And it is a great book club read because the stories about later in life female friendship and it generates a lot of conversation. I also have discussion questions on my website. Oh, and I do have, if there's teachers that are listening, I do have novel study guides that can accompany Shift and Flow, and those are on Teachers Pay Teachers. I've got two study guides, novel study guides that can be used for any book, actually. So,
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, well, that's it for Moms on Mics this week.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Moms on Mics Podcast, on TikTok at Moms on Mics, and join our Facebook group, Moms on Mics.
If anyone has any topics you want us to cover, or if you have any questions or suggestions, you can email us at momsonmics@gmail.com or submit through our website, momsonmics.com.
We would also appreciate it if you could rate and review us on whatever platform you're listening on. It really helps the podcast move up on their chart so it gets more exposure. Hope you join us again next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.